Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast. I'm your host, as always, Jason, and I know every episode, I'm excited, I'm amped up, special guests and this and that. But I tell you, this episode right here, I am totally amped up. I'm nervous about this episode. I have Andrew. He is the inventor, the CEO of Trail Stuff. And Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. And kind of what we were talking about, a little bit, I don't know, about 30 minutes ago or so. I have a new podcast, and I never thought that I would really want to get into anything outside of Texas. So I bleed Texas. I love the state. And then, you start to see the opportunities to get the word out with gear, with people. I really started to understand that I love the story. Our hiking community, whether it's Texas, whether it's just in general, I love people's stories. So then I really started to kind of focus on the story aspect. And then, just thinking about vacations in Colorado and in New Mexico, I see so many Texas license plates that, starting to reach out to people that are hiking in different states brings value to my hiking community, Texas, because we're vacationing in all these places. And then you start looking at the gear reviews, and I was really turned off by it because everybody has a gear review. But I really found out that there's gear out there that have changed the way I hike and backpack. And I definitely want to inform my listeners that, of this type of gear. And, I don't know if you've listened to previous podcasts, but, Trekker Joe's, I love his stuff. And let me tell you, I've been on 2 backpacking trips with the Trailbrush, and this piece of gear right here is absolutely fantastic, and it has changed. Not the miles that I put in, not the not being afraid of elevation or exposure, but this thing, I always know where my toothbrush is. And to the listeners, you have to look up this Trailbrush. And what it does, it's a little head of a toothbrush, and it fits on your long-handled spoon, so you always have it. You don't lose it. It is always with you. You never have to guess where it is. And that's kind of the biggest thing for me, is always losing the toothbrush. So when I reached out to you, it was 100% because this product is awesome. I want to understand how you even, as you look at your spoon and go, yeah, no one's ever thought of this. And you were like, I wonder if I took my toothbrush and put it on the end of my spoon. It is amazing. And so I definitely, just the Trekker Joe stuff, I definitely want to share how wonderful this product is to my community that listens to the podcast. And also, we start out talking about the trail stuff, but then get into you as a hiker, you've hiked the AT. To me, that's just, it's mind blowing to hike that long. I mean, the mental toughness and stuff. So I definitely want to get into that stuff. But again, man, thank you so much for taking the time and joining the podcast. And kind of just to start off, can you kind of introduce your company to the listeners and your mission statement and what's important to you and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and thanks for all that. Thanks for having me on. It's gonna be fun. Uh, yeah. So I founded Trail Stuff, mostly just doing the backwards trail stuff over here.
Yeah.
The Trailbrush is the first and only thing we've got so far, but trying to do a couple other things. Don't know if we quite have a mission statement quite nailed down yet, but we're working on it. Just making stuff to make trail easier, lighter, or funnier. And
Yeah,
that'll work.
absolutely. No, no, you nailed it with that. So I don't know,
Yeah.
you're sitting in your tent, you're driving out to the trailhead. So what inspired you to start a company?
Yeah, so this one particularly with the Trailbrush is I was sitting on an airplane trying to explain the Appalachian Trail to somebody. They had some familiarity with hiking. I was trying to explain the joke of cutting the handle off of a toothbrush, and just kind of in that moment like, wait a minute, wait, I know how I can do this, and it like fully just popped into my brain, and I said, we're gonna finish this conversation, but I had to sit down. Like I drew it out there on the plane as I was explaining cutting up a toothbrush, and like the look in their face, like, why would you want to do that? That's just stupid. But I figured out how to do it, and then I went out in the world trying to find this thing, because boy, oh boy, if I could have just bought this thing, it would have been so much easier.
Yes.
And then founding the company was just trying to make this happen because I really wanted it.
And so you have the idea, like,
Yeah.
how do you know what to research and like what products, and like people could be allergic to I don't know, like types of plastics or types of, like, how's the testing and all this, like how did you do all that?
Jumping through the FDA hula hoops.
Yeah.
Just a little bit about me is I'm an architect by trade, so I kind of have a little bit of design background, not quite as much as maybe a product engineer would have, but enough to get me good started there. And I've always been fascinated with how things are made, where does this thing come from? I think everyone remembers the Discovery Channel shows, like How It's Made. Getting way into the weeds on that. And a little bit of an obsessive personality, and I just jumped down the rabbit hole of, all right, I want to have this thing. How do I get there? And I think I remember the first 3 to 4 months of saying like, all right, I can probably make myself one. I think I was showing you the first one right off the bat. It was a bamboo toothbrush that can I just cut the head off and screw it into the top myself, make it in my basement, and be done with it. But obviously that didn't work out super well. Then, as the iteration came through, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to get these made. Just the method of how the bristles are attached is a whole. It's an amazing thing, and if you'd let me talk about it, I will talk about this for 17 hours.
Oh, let's do it.
I know way too much about toothbrushes, way too much. But yeah, the obsessive personality and the I really want this thing, and I'm gonna go make this happen. And then working with a couple of different people and a manufacturer, just getting through the final bits of it. And then the FDA regulations are actually pretty easy to get through.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Shockingly easy.
Yeah. And I think the first time that I actually ever talked to you via Instagram, and this is something like the listeners should think about anytime they have a decision to make about purchasing gear. You can purchase, Trailbrush, you're only going to find it at Trail Stuff, and you definitely need about 4 or 5 of these suckers. But just in general, like, there's an opportunity for you to make a purchase through REI or through these, smaller companies. You're impacting people's lives. Like, if I buy something at REI, I'm the CEO is getting another vacation home. If I buy something through Trekker Joe's or yourself, like, I'm impacting your life in a positive way. I'm paying for a little girl's dance lessons or a little boy to play, Little League baseball and stuff. And so I think us as in the hiking community, I hope that we're always conscious of supporting the non-RAIs. And as an example, you know, I heard about Trailbrush from Marion Outdoors, from Coach. He made a TikTok about it. And I was like, no way. So I purchased these two that are in my hand from Marion Outdoors. I'm in Texas. He's in Virginia. It would be just like if I ordered an REI, I'm still going to have to wait for the package, you know? So like, there's no difference. The difference is the one that I bought from Marion, I gave it to my friend on a backpacking trip, and we were in a snowstorm. He opened up the box, and the little white stopper fell in the snow. So, yep, he's not using
it's gone.
using it on
you'll never
trip.
see it again.
Yeah. And so I messaged you, and I just didn't even was like, okay, with, you know, in REI, if I would have messaged, no one would have ever responded because I've done it before. Within 5 minutes, you responded. I told you the story. You said, yeah, man, give me your address. I'll mail you one right now. And I was like, I even said, I was like, absolutely not. I will buy 2 more trail brushes from you. And if you have an extra stopper, I'll just drop it into the, you know, you can just drop it into the package, and I would greatly appreciate it. And so the point of the story is shopping at these, you know, these smaller outfitters, gear companies. You know, you don't get to talk to Jeff Bezos at Amazon or whoever the CEO or CIO is at REI, but you know, with these companies, you know, you're talking to people that truly care about the satisfaction, the product, and again, like, you know, that was our you know, kind of back and forth, and I was shocked at how helpful you were, and certainly you're not going to get that at other stores. So I again I greatly appreciate it. And guess what? On the next backpacking trip, Henning had his trail brush, and it was awesome.
Nice. To be clear, I still feel a little bad about that one because I probably shouldn't have made the smallest droppable part mostly clear.
Oh,
like, not a good move.
It wouldn't have been bad if it wasn't a snowstorm, but you know, like, I'm sure he didn't, you know, we're out in the elements. He's not worrying about probably looking for it. He's just like, I was at a campsite over, and I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, don't you love this? And the wind and the, you know, the wintry mix is just howling. And I'm like brushing my teeth going, yeah, like thumbs up. And he's just like, I lost the little, no, at first he goes, how do you fit it? And I'm like, that little white thing, and you put it and da-da-da. He goes, oh, that fell in the snow. So anyway, we got him hooked up. So I had bought 2 more and gave him one, and I have one. And again, I just want the listeners to understand, like, you don't ever get to, when you have a problem, talk to the people that love and care about the product so much. And I just want to thank you. With that being said, like, so you started in 2023, right, with the company?
Yep. Actually about this time.
Yeah. And do you, or is it a big part of kind of your day to day, like getting customers' feedback or asking people that have used it, like, what do they think about it, and those types of things?
A little bit. Most of my feedback that I could deal with was kind of early on, and then also when I was getting some like the prototypes in, and some of those like first tester models, you'll probably see them around, the little white ones. Mm-hmm. That was when I could really do tester feedback and start editing that design. One of the things about particularly about toothbrushes is the minimum order quantities are truly staggering. So it's going to be about 3 or 4 years before I can do a second version of this. But definitely keeping a pretty good tab on feedback. Again, with that obsessive personality, is I know I shouldn't, but I read every review.
Yep.
And I've got a laundry list of things that I probably should have thought about the first time. Like, the gaskets being clear, probably not the best idea, but definitely have a long list of things that I want to incorporate in the next one.
Yeah. Like for me, this, And again, the reason why I asked you to come on is because this product is so awesome. And again, listeners, we will get towards the end how you can order one of these things. But yeah, it's spectacular. You just talked about reading reviews and stuff like that. So is there any kind of like memorable stories that are related to the Trailbrush that you would like to share with the listeners that someone told you?
Yeah, sure. A couple of ones, but my favorite one was I was at Trail Days and I was in line at a food stand, and the people behind me were having a conversation about it, and like they hey, have you heard about this thing? And I was like, wait, shit,
No
that's mine.
way.
Yeah,
Did you tell them?
Nope. Nope. It was not. Nope. 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 Nope.
So how cool is that to be?
It was very sad. It's the coolest thing that's ever happened. It's just being out in the wild and be like other people talking about this thing that I know when I was starting to, tell, especially people like, my immediate family, some of my friends don't have a lot of outdoor friends. They're looking like, why? This is stupid. Why would you want that? And I'm like, but it's so cool.
Yes. And if you're a gram counter, you want this. If you just like cool stuff, you want this. If you want it to change, you not having to always find your toothbrush, you want this. So there's many reasons why you want this product.
Yeah. But that was just incredibly satisfying, and just the some of the especially like the positive reactions are just great. Although I do have to share my absolute favorite bit of feedback, and it kills me to this day. It was, where's the spoon? That was just an email line. It's like title, like, hey, where's the spoon that comes with this? I'm like, about that.
You're like, do you hike at a backpack at all?
Yeah. No, I love that one. It tickled me.
How did you respond to that?
Oh, I just send them back a nice little email saying, oh no, this was for the one you already have. If you are you a backpacker? I said, yeah. I'm like, well, do you have the Tokes one? She's like, oh yeah, I've got that one. Goes in that. That's where you
boom.
Put it. And they're like, oh my God, that makes so much more sense now. And I was like, glad it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it hard to try to see all the spoons on the market, like what maybe the top popular 10 are, and then making sure your product fits? That to me would give me nightmares.
Yeah, so that one took about 6 months just doing the gasket. Even after I had like got really close, it was 6 months. I think I went through 53 different sizes.
Are you kidding me?
And the original fits were within microns, like literally at the micron level, and then I changed to big, because originally it was supposed to go up through the bottom and it was supposed to just stay there and it's perfect. Turns out flexible silicone will never get that precise, so we had to rebuild the whole system. But to answer the original question, I'm going to share you a little dirty secret about the long handle spoons.
Yep.
There's about 3 patterns for them, and all of them are nearly identical.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I dig through them, but it's a podcast, so screen is not going to help that much.
Yeah,
but there's like the Vargo ones and then the Tokes ones, and you can kind of see it's the same hole, but they're whether or not they're smashed or not on the end. But it's one of those things where there's about 3 or 4 factories that make all of them, and they're just branded at the end.
And that's
it's really easy to hit it.
Yeah, and when one day I lost and I was trying to hurry up and get something before a trip, and I'm sort of looking on Amazon going, wait a minute. Like this one looks just like this one. Oh, wait, hold on. Now this one looks just like this one.
Give me a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is this is the Vargo one. This is the Sea to Summit one. They are deadly identical. This is a Navarus. This is Everest. This is Lithfam. This is another Vargo one, the short one. Similar, but a little different. This is Tokes. I've got dozens of these now. Too many.
And so did you just say, okay, like the top 10 most popular, that's what I'm going to shoot for? Or?
No, actually, that was the thing I found out is it works on all of them.
Yeah.
Everything except for the Snow Peak, because the Snow Peak's holes a fully different, smaller pattern. Yeah. But all of them across the board with that same little hole on the end, they're identical.
That's crazy.
You get your little calipers out, you can measure that little hole on end, dead identical, same radius, same curve, same depth, same length, same width. Everything's identical.
So what a benefit for you. Once you figured that out,
so
hopefully,
easy.
hopefully it was pretty quick in the process that they're all the same. And
the
I
only
think
2 different ones are the Vargo pattern and the Tokes pattern, and it's just whether or not. So if you look in the end there, the Vargo one's like fully rounded one, and the Tokes it looks like somebody sat on the end, and that's the only difference.
And that doesn't impact you at all, right?
It made me change the cap design about 3 times to try and hit both, but yeah, that was about it.
Wow, that's crazy. So, kind of, what about collaborations with other? I don't want to say gear, but like through hikers, sometimes they'll be talking about like it's not dehydrated, but the toothpaste that's it's like little cubes.
Unpaste.
Yes. And so have you had companies reach out to, yes, that's it, reach out to you and say, hey, you have a product and we have this and we should collab or put packages together, or
just one so far. I've done a couple of the marketing kind of, especially with Garage Grown Gear, and that great group of people, and a couple of people have reached out about doing giveaway kind of things, and that's been pretty nice. But nothing co-branded yet.
Yeah. Okay. And so,
but yeah, there's a couple other things I'm working on after this one that I'm going to have to work with some other people on. Actually getting those to work because they know more about sewing than I do, and we'll fix those ones later.
So what about dentists? No dentists have approached you and said, hey, you're we want to give these to all the hiking patients that we have.
I am such a coward. I haven't even told my own dentist about this yet.
No? Oh, man, I would be all over that.
Do that.
Yeah. And, that would be great to have his recommendation, right? He's a dentist.
Yeah. Just like the, Dr. whatever, just written in the cap there. It's like every single toothbrush you get from a dentist always has their name on it someplace. I should figure out how to do that. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. That would be awesome. And so you have the product, you're selling it. Do you have to keep up with, like, I don't know, trends and I don't know, in technology and materials that impact you? Like, could the spoons change their design? Like, do you have to kind of be leery of that, or?
Yeah, I'm always worried about everything in the future, but no. To be perfectly honest, I've been doing this I've only been able to sell products since the end of January, so it's only been about 5 or 6 months so far. So trends haven't happened yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still working on this one, and then as we were talking about before, the spoons just being kind of a brandable staple. Really not worried about that changing for the near future. I know Cedar Summit is doing a new different head, but I really am not super worried about that really taking over by storm. Mostly because we already have our Toke spoons that we bought the first camping trip we went on, and haven't lost that one yet.
When people are purchasing the trail brushes, what's better for them to purchase it directly from you, through Marion Outdoors, from Garage Grown Gear, or does it not matter? It's still an order's an order. And
I always prefer when people buy local. So if you are by in Virginia on trail, Marion Outdoors, go there, support that guy, because I when I sell to retailers, I know that I have enough that supports me, but I also want to support these people on trail.
Yeah.
Because these stores are, especially on a long through hike, they're critical to life, and just helping them be around is super important. Because again, trying to land an Amazon package on trail is absolutely impossible. Don't try.
Yeah.
So that's always my first preference. And then if you're gonna buy it online, hey, buy it from me.
Yeah. So it's or whoever you can support.
I'm going to come back on this one. Garage Grown Gear, because if you're buying it from me, I have to send out this whole thing of cardboard for sometimes just one brush. Buy some other stuff, save some packaging.
Yeah. And so do you have a goal of like what you want your product line to look at in 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, with the different ideas?
Yeah, I have a couple ideas for some next products, but it's really whatever is entertaining me at the moment, and the things that, especially like when I'm going through my own gear, things that I want to have already, and that's kind of the products I want to look on, is the things that nobody else has made that would have made my life a lot easier. Like again, this one, I did spend a solid long while making sure that nobody else made it, so I couldn't just press order and then go back to bed. Figure out what my next hike would be. Things like that. I do remember over the last summer I was trying to make a trowel that would attach to my trekking pole, because I always had this problem where like a little trowel would never get through the dirt. You're like, it's like, I just had like a longer handle on it, would be great. And then I got close to making one, and then I found one online. I was like, sold immediately.
Oh, really? So they have those?
It was it's a prairie dog shovel. Fucking phenomenal. Best thing ever.
Because when I'm trying to trowel, like I'm slicing open my hand, trying to get it down. I've duct taped it, and I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's prairie dog shovel. Prairie dog shovel. And then if you connect it to the bottom of the second section of your trekking pole, you can pull the bottom piece out, collapse the top piece, and you've got like a little 2-foot handle on it. And then it sits on your trekking pole and doesn't go in your backpack, cutting out the webbing in your back.
Wow, nice. And when I was talking to Joe at Trekker Joe's, he said the same thing. Like he was hiking the Lone Star Hiking Trail, and was kind of like packing up and stuff, and started realizing like, man, I wish this gear would do this, and I wish this would do that, and no one's made this, and wow, that would make, so like, it's funny that you say the same thing, that I never thought about, like, these ideas are for like the items that you wish you had, or, oh man, I wish you would have done that. And then you're just like, boom. And here
Necessity is the mother of invention. If you didn't need it already, you weren't going to think of it.
Absolutely. That's crazy. So just to kind of wrap this portion up, and as we head into your hiking experiences, can you let the listeners know, like, how can they reach you? How can they buy your products? Websites, Instagram, let us have it.
Sure. I'm slightly addicted to Instagram, so Instagram is where I am mostly. It's at Trailbrush. The website's trailbrush.com, because I had not thought to grab trail stuff before I changed the name. So we're trailbrush.com. And actually, if you go on there, I have a little tab that says retailers of all the places you can find it. Marion Outdoors is on there. Garage Grown Gear is on there. Great places to grab them. And if you're not anywhere near those places, there's also just buy there button.
Nice. And Coach is going to be on the podcast, so I sent him some questions and stuff. So I've seen a lot of his Instagram and TikTok videos, and what I love about it is it's so much information in a short amount of time. Like, sometimes you click on things and they're like, we're going to tell you the secrets of whatever. And then it's like,
and then 15 minutes later, you're nothing.
Like, okay, I want the secret.
And he's just such a positive guy, and he's always so excited about whatever he's found, and the things he finds are just awesome. When I was, he started his store the year that we did the AT, and I think he'd been doing the TikToks for a couple of weeks when I was still buying gear. He's like, oh, that's a good one. Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, that's a good one.
I play a game with him on his TikToks. Is he he'll say like all the things you need in your day pack, and he'll list them all, and he goes, all right, let me know what I forgot. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got you, Coach. And I, to this day, I've never come up with a piece of anything on these types of scenarios where he mentions everything, and I'm like, God, I'm like 0 for 200 versus Coach. but he's always like has the right information, the right stuff, and I never can add to his lists, and it's frustrating. And I was just telling him, like,
although he did when he was he did the thing for the Trailbrush, he had it on backwards.
Oh, did he? Did he get called out?
No, I was quite like, I love you, my guy, but go the other way.
And that's funny. I'll have to go back and try to find that video.
It's super subtle. Only I would notice, and it's because, again, it's been my entire brain for over a year.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'll definitely have to go back and watch that video. But I love his videos, and I try to promote him too, because he gives so much great information. And first off, I'll probably never hike the AT, but
never say never. We'll get you out there.
Oh man, I'll be all over it. And it's just seeing the experiences of the hikers and what he talks about, and then the information that he has. I think it's so valuable. And again, you get in and get out, right? You don't have to sit around and with all this other stuff. You get what you want to get, and you get out. What worried me, though,
you got to ask him about some hostel stories, because he runs a hostel there too. And
he's going to get it all the questions. And have you ever watched his video on Kaleidoscope?
No,
you have to watch. So it's him, but with a really egotistical attitude. Like, I am the AT, I am ultralight. And one of the very first ones is Coach then kind of like bursts his bubble and kind of makes it to where Kaleidoscope, he's actually starting to cry because he doesn't enjoy it. All this ultralight gear counting, he doesn't really make him happy. And so I always used to tell Coach, like, oh man, we need more Kaleidoscope. And since that video, Kaleidoscope hasn't been around, so I'm a little worried. So that's the first question for Coach is, man, like, you really busted his bubble. Is he okay?
Did you fully just break him?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it because he's not around anymore. So, kind of like being an AT through hiker, has hiking and backpacking always been in your life? Is it something that a lot of times you hear people doing these through hikes that they just wake up one morning and go, I want to do it,
So cards on the table, this was my wife's idea. She was like, hey, I really want to do the AT. I'm like, all right, sure, let's go.
And before that, did y'all hike or anything?
So like most people, done some day hiking when you're little, gone on some vacation, here and there places. I did one good backpacking trip at the beginning of college. Actually, that was a great experience. If you're going to Penn State, your program, do it. It was called Orion back then, but it was basically a week before college starts. Like, two seniors take a bunch of upcoming freshmen. We're gonna go backpack in the woods for a week, and it's
oh wow,
it's great exposure. Also, if you're in most colleges, find the Outdoors Club. They have rental gear, sometimes for free.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Do it. But I did a little bit of that, but never really got super drawn into that because you got classes and all that stuff. But our first real foray was my wife saying, "Hey, let's go hike the AT," and
at that moment, did you guys have the gear, or did you like head to REI and say, give them the credit card and say, I want to do this, hook me up?
Not quite. I am a very, again, obsessive a bit of a person, so I did do just way too much research ahead of time. I ended up kitting out both of our gears because I knew that I'm a pretty lazy person when it comes to going outside, so I wanted to carry just nothing because I was very afraid to be, I was super out of shape at the time. Really didn't want to carry anything because I knew that I was like, give me a 35-pound pack, I'd be done in a week. It'd be over.
Right.
And so I knew it was important to her and she wanted to finish. So I was like, all right, let's make this as easy as possible. So I knew, again, it's that thing. I knew too much going in.
And what state are you located in?
We're in Virginia.
Oh, so how far are you from Coach?
About 3 hours, 3.5.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, depending on who's driving.
Yeah. And so it was her idea. You were like, all right, let's do it. And if you kind of just look at the whole trip, do you think it's more physical or mental?
Absolutely mental. Absolutely mental. I think my favorite expression we learned on the trail was a lot of people approach the trail as this, massive undertaking, 2,200 miles and years out of your life. And you're out in the wilderness. And really what it does boil down to is 3 to 5 day backpacking trips between Dollar Generals. Yep. And if you just approach it as a series of little 4 or 5 day backpacking trips, they're easy.
And like for me, like, some of these really popular through hikers, and maybe the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, like to me, it really got like, I mean, I started seeing it around kind of more and people just talking about it. But and like really putting these people up in like these pedestals, and like I started thinking, like, is it really that mentally? Absolutely. Like if you're not strong mentally, I could see it would crush you. Physically, you're going to eventually, like build into your hiking legs. And like you said, like once you repeat something successfully, then you just repeat that. So like, like the shipping the boxes ahead of you, understanding what a Nero or 0 day does to your body and these types of things, like then you just repeat what works for you.
Yeah. And also, especially for the AT, it's not at far out into the wilderness as people make it out to be. If you're having a real bad day, again, like even to help with that mental thing, just taking a day off trail, waiting for a sunny day, because a lot of the people I know that dropped out that were not injuries or literally outside things that outside of their control. The people that dropped out on a cold rainy day. They're having a bad time, and they're just like they leave right then and there. I'm like, go into town, have a hot meal, take a nap, wait for a sunny day, come back on trail, and remember why you like being outside. And most of the people that would come back on that sunny day go like, oh no, we've got this. This is fine. This is not all misery and suffering.
Right. They said never quit on a bad day.
Never quit on a bad day.
They've heard. Yeah. And what was it like? Did you have a tramley, or was there kind of you start with a bubble and kind of stay with them, or how did all that work out?
Yeah, so I hiked the whole thing with my wife, and that really is a huge help because you have that other person that like even when you're having the bad day, there's somebody to help you out, through that little bit of it. But we did almost through Virginia with part of our tramley. We started off with I think 11. Our tramley was quite large. We had a really great time. I love actually all those people. I still keep in contact with a lot of them. But the hiking speeds differ. You start pittering out after a little bit, where some people get off trails, some people want to hike a lot faster because they're on a tighter timeline, and then over 7 months, you're those little bits of 2-3 mile differences really do add up.
Absolutely. And so, were you northbound, southbound?
Northbound. We started middle end of February, so we were a little ahead of the bubble the whole time.
You started in February?
Yep.
What was the weather like? I guess you would hit. I mean, it's still snowing, right? And horrible weather, and
we only saw snow like three or four times. Some of that snow was like into March, so like the first couple of weeks were not that bad in terms of weather. Yeah. And that's what people are always like, oh no, you got to start later. Because you want to miss the cold. I'm like, you're gonna get cold. It's gonna snow on you at some point, and then if you start earlier, you finish in the summer, so you only have to do the one season transition. I just remember the whole first half. Everybody's like, all right, when are you sending your winter gear home? When are you sending your winter gear home? If we'd started later, you have to send the winter gear home and then get it back.
I never thought about starting in February. And do you think it's a gamble? Like you just hit a good year for winter, or do you think that that's something that people should always think about, that February should be an option?
Again, it's not that far out in the wilderness, so there was like 2 or 3 nights where it was going to be bad snow. Where it's like, well, I guess we're staying in town tonight.
Yeah.
And it makes it a little easier if you can give yourself that kind of like leeway.
So what was it like when you made it to Maine?
This is the part where I'm gonna be like a little honest. By the time we hit Maine, I think we were both pretty done with hiking for a little bit. We're just like, oh man, we've made it. All right, whew, I can sit down and like be in the same place for a couple of weeks. Actually, one of the, so at the end, one of the things I was really excited for was I have a very fond spot in my heart for Acadia, and it's got all this great hiking that I remember from like when I was little. Like you can do these little the Precipice Trail is incredible. The Beehive Trail, they're these great like Klendersteg kind of things. And I remember we got off trail. We got 2 miles into one of the trails, made eye contact, and went, "Are you done? I'm done." And like, we ended up just leaving because we were just like, nope, we've had quite enough of hiking for a little minute, which is really funny because not more than 5 months later, I was like, I need to be outside again.
Yeah. Did you find it hard to kind of get adjusted back to normal life after being that long on the trails?
So our thing was my wife was actually going to be attending grad school like right after that, so we actually had a thing and a whole task to do, and I had a job waiting for me. So the reality hit pretty hard and fast. So I don't think we ever had that the post trail depression that happens to a lot of people, where like you're just sitting like, well, now what I do with my life is life was busy, and we didn't really have that time to sit down and process that. So for real, my joke answer is going to be the hardest thing about reintegrating society was having to go to an actual bathroom when you needed to pee. You like as a joke, but like for real, that is a genuine challenge.
Really?
Because you used to be like, 3 steps. Yep, I'll go right here. You're like,
yep.
Wait, what do you mean I have to wait like a half hour?
There's a line? What?
Yeah. Oh, and so her grad school was in Italy, so we were in Italy for this, and public bathrooms aren't a thing. They're just not.
And you're not going to walk into a building and use the restroom either.
Well, because you can't. They won't let you.
Yeah. So like maybe if you're eating there or something, you're participating in what they're offering, you might get to go to the restroom. But yeah, it's not just right on the corner and like here we go.
And that's the kind of weird stuff that you don't really think about when you're going back to the real world. You're like, oh, you can't do that.
So if you look at yourself now, is hiking and backpacking a big part of your life?
Oh yeah. It was definitely addicting.
And so
addicting.
So what does it mean to you? Like so for me, I'm 51 years old, and if I don't have a challenge, or if I'm not pushing for something, like I'm just like laying in bed, just like, so right now in Texas it's almost 100 degrees, so thank God for rock climbing stuff. Like I would be just really in trouble because like I don't want to get out with bazillion mosquitoes, horseflies, and it's 100 degrees every weekend. So my hiking season is from 1st of September through maybe the end of May. But I'm always planning trips, or I want to do a 30-mile day. So I did that. Now I want to do a 40-mile day. I don't know why, just something to occupy myself and get me out. So like, what does it mean to you?
For me, the thing that the real draw is just the joy and bliss of being in nature, being unplugged from everything. Again, I'm an architect by trade, so like my entire life was just about the indoors and traffic studies and where do people go and how do you get people from here to there and how does electricity work? You go outside and just like,
yeah. And so are you architecting right now, or is it Trailbrush?
It's most of the day job. The Trailbrush is like Thursday and Saturday nights.
Yeah. Oh man. So real quick, and I don't mean to skip the hiking stuff for a second, but what is a day? What does a day look like for you when Trailbrush is involved? So you get up when it is. So like on a Thursday or a Saturday, like what does that day look like? You're a husband, so you have probably time for your wife. You have things to do around the house. you have a job, like what does that look like? For me, like it's interesting just to, what does a day look like for you when you're the husband and Trailbrush orders and work, like kind of go through what that looks like.
Sure. Fortunately, it's just the one thing right now, so it's a pretty simple process. It's just how many and what color, and you spend the afternoon. Usually Thursdays or Fridays, I'll sit down and box up a couple. Set out. We'll put a movie on, set some boxes, and start printing out labels. You put the label in the box, and just that's how many that go in that one. Seal it, and on to the next one. And then I tend to drop them off at the post office a couple blocks over on Saturdays. So it's fortunately a very low maintenance effort.
Nice.
I know a bunch of people that the guy from Acromoda, he's was sitting there hand sewing every single one. So that's got to be a much larger time commitment than what I have going on, fortunately.
Oh yeah, like Joe, like we talk every once in a while,
That's gonna be killer.
like on this, and he's got 3 sewing machines. Everybody's kind of pitching in, and and yeah, it's I asked him, I'm like, how do you do
before,
this?
But like my whole this is the whole company is me, this little yellow box, and a printer.
And yeah, and and you would think like that's perfect. Like it's not overwhelming. You can still, I would think, feel satisfied that you're able to fill the orders. If anybody has any issues, you're right there, and it's not too over. It doesn't impact with you being a husband or any other stuff. So that's awesome.
We'll grow this to something more painful later on. We'll get there.
Yeah, don't rush. That's in my 51 years. That's the only advice that I could give about this stuff is don't rush it, enjoy it, and take your time. So right now, when hiking, do you find that you're doing it mainly with family, friends, solo on the trips that you do now?
Yeah, so it's always mostly been me and my wife just pick a place, go to a thing. A little before the trail, we had done like old rag by ourselves. I've hiked with a couple of friends before, and some family members, especially some family members. And this was also true when we were hiking with our family. Is me and my wife, we have a very similar hiking pace, a very similar mindset about why we're here, what we're doing, similar priorities. So it made decision making a lot easier, and so it's mostly just us. And also one of the great things about being outside is kind of that that peace and solidarity of just listening to the trees for a minute.
And also my wife will hike with me, so she has rules. So it's no more than 10 miles, no more than 6 miles if there's a lot of elevation gain. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? She's like, I don't know, just when my legs start hurting. And she'll backpack with me as long as it's just for one night, because she figures she can hold pooping in the woods for a day until we can get to a bathroom, because she's not pooping in the woods.
Oh, but pooping in the woods is the best.
I try to tell her that. I said, honey, I even have I got a little bidet. I mean, it works perfect. And I think I even got that from Marion Outdoors. And she's like, absolutely not. Nope. And, we just, I guess about 2 years ago, she's a teacher. So she has a week in October off, and it was for my 50th birthday. The plan was 18. We did 15 state parks in like 8 days. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.